see it in his eyes.
All right, we good. Yo, you taking too long. We already know what it is, man. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah,
Yo,
man.
mute.
So you know what it is. We back again for another episode, man. If y'all haven't already checked out the previous episodes, you don't know what you're missing out on. This is Plot in Progress. We got the brothers in the building. We got special guests in the building, man. It's going down. We are unified in action to build, protect, and expand fruitful legacy of love, equity, growth, ancestry, cooperative yield. We are growth spot.
Yeah, man, we got two of my partners, man. We go back like car seats and starting this whole thing out here in the Phoenix community, man. Two heavy hitters out here, man. Owners of a few businesses here, activists heavy in the community and heavy on building that black dollar, brother Ali and brother Henry, man. What's good with y'all?
What's going on with the family? Thanks for having us on.
That's what's up. So for anybody that kind of don't know who y'all are, this possibility, but if y'all want to just briefly explain like what it is y'all do here in the community and everything y'all got going on.
Sure, man. We just servants, man. We just are using what we have to do what we can while we can. And most of that is centered on business, right? And I try to educate folks when it comes to business because some people think of it as an emotional thing. Some people think of it as a capitalistic thing, right? But it's a strategic as well as a tactical thing because we know that we need resources. We know that we need money in this society. And business and entrepreneurship is just one way of getting those resources to create jobs, to create wealth, to create economic freedom, to build the institutions that we need, for so many things, right? Dollars are just necessary. And so we're squarely focused on building up businesses for members of our community to have the aspiration to do so and the mindset to do it for the right reasons. And then we're also very intentional on building up our own enterprises. And so we do that through two different entities or a few different entities, but the community and outward facing side is formerly known as Archwood Exchange, which we've run for about 8 years now. Started as a Buy Black Marketplace host, where we hosted a community event just to bring the community together, bring the businesses together and elevate them and support them. And after doing that for a number of years, we found that one, it was very successful and very effective, but also we were missing an opportunity to meet more critical needs of the businesses in the community, such as education, such as resources, such as connections, and getting exposure to even bigger opportunity. And so we formed a nonprofit called Acres, which is Archwood Community Resource Empowerment Strategy, which is more directly focused on meeting all of those needs. And we also launched an incubator retail store called Acres Community Creators Marketplace, which is located downtown. And then on the for-profit side of things, if you will, the businesses that we operate as a part of our collective are Grassroots Bookstore, Straw and Wool Hat Store, Stardust and Sage, Crystal Store, Apothecary, and Brownstone Spa. And yeah, we're just appreciative of the time, and very honored to spend some time with y'all brothers. Congratulations to everything and all the success that you're having and everything that you're doing. And, we just believe that it's our time right now. So we just got to keep moving forward.
Indeed.
And I know I tried to cover it all, but definitely Henry jump in if you got anything to add.
And the way I see it too is maximizing our potential. We know within ourselves, we are capable of a lot. I mean, the Nip song, he knew he was a genius. He ain't have a way to explain it. So it's like that's where his vision meets opportunity, where you know what you're capable of. You know the passion that you have inside of you. All you need is an opportunity to put that on display and try to create something. So we just try to create those lanes, create those opportunities, and give the education and experience to help all of us maximize our potential. Because I ain't trying to take nothing to the grave.
Indeed, indeed. Very well said. Salute to both of you brothers and everyone else that is involved in the efforts that you all have been involved in the past several years. This is a privilege because I feel like when we do things like this, it's full circle for a lot of us because, we've been in passing or in the same circles or even involved in some of the same initiatives over the past decade. So it's a great way to embark on a journey with other brothers and really get to know their values and their principles that they stand on, not because they say so, because you get to see it in action. So
You're
y'all
doing
been
it.
really consistent. All the success that you have earned and all the success that is on the way is just tremendous to see, and it's encouraging for those of us that are on a similar path. So I just want to give y'all another salute.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
Appreciate
it,
you,
man.
brother.
It's
Give
Likewise,
them the
man.
flowers while they're here, man. That's for sure. It's an important
Indeed.
concept.
Appreciate it. Likewise, man. Just what y'all do, y'all the essence of what it is, man. So that's why anytime we try to create a lane, we try to make sure you guys are the first people in that lane because the number of people or groups or organizations that you can say that's really doing it for the right reason and is really real about it is small. So that's why we try to stay close with the people that we know is doing it for the right reason, and y'all number one on the list.
some of them fireworks, but
What happens everywhere I go, man? I can't help
My,
that.
bro- hey, my brother
I
exploded
appreciate that, Henry.
though.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, but 100,000%. Because as we start to navigate more this nonprofit side and the funding and the grants and foundations and things like that, it's a new world for us. And what we find is definitely that a lot of people in there playing games. They're not serious. They don't have integrity. And so as we start to try to navigate these spaces, our goal, just like on the business side, is definitely to open the door even wider to share any knowledge that we get for those who are, have similar aspiration. And
for
then
sure.
it's crazy that you mentioned that, Colin, because I just think about how you used to have the youngins out there playing chess at the marketplace, and now we got the
Indeed.
chess at the bookstore, and Nino was the coach that you was working with, and you shared the contact, and now he's coaching at the bookstore. So it's powerful that you mentioned that, and that we see that coming full circle in real life.
Indeed, so some people use the term sustainable. I think regenerative is like a better concept to kind of
Yeah.
embrace, right? So I always say like the best way you can honor someone is to continue their work or enhance their work, right? So any of those efforts that I kind of perpetuated in the past, obviously I wasn't the originator of some of these concepts, but there's benefit to facilitating that for youth, obviously. So even if I'm not directly involved, if there's any way that I can pour into that, like the instance and the example that you just used, I'm all for it. And I'm going to offer any kind of
Yeah.
assistance that I can. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see these things come full circle. And I don't believe in coincidences. So
Yes, sir.
it's
Yes,
just,
Not at all.
you know what I mean? It's divine passage in a lot of ways.
absolutely. Absolutely. We appreciate the support, brother, and the mindset that you have.
For
Indeed.
sure.
Quando, what's our theme for the night?
We're getting into these bars first, a little icebreaker we do every episode. Who spit those bars? Positive revolutionary raps that got to do with ownership and owning shit. You feel me? So we're gonna get into that. Brother Nick say he got it. So let's spit the bars. Let's give
It,
everybody a chance to see if we recognize who spit
it
those
was
bars.
it was a good one.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. I got a good one for you too, man. I don't know if y'all gonna recognize this one or not. Some of you may, man. You may pick up on this one, but this is a really good one. Okay.
Let's
So
do
so
it.
here's the bars. So the question is, who spit those bars? Be ready. Being black is a blessing and a curse. Living with the pain and the hurt. Take a stand as I work, concentrating, thinking of a master plan. I got a mic and a black as I set with the concept. I just want to raise my kids right, protect them at all costs, and never fall off. You thought I would. I'm reaching higher than I ever, to levels infested with devils, snakes. I see the hate in your eyes when I walk by, taught by your people to hate black people. Take the sheep till they're severed on the church. Organize, come together, let's work. Get this money, man.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm gonna leave you with that.
I got nothing.
It sound like Nas.
It do. It do. I was gonna say that. Is it Nas?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Hmm.
I'm gonna take you. You go to your deep South roots.
Big Crit or something.
Nah, it ain't
Goody
crit.
Mob.
It ain't crit.
Scarface.
Okay, it's Goody Mob. Goody Mob.
Goody Mob.
Goody Mob.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
What
okay.
song is that from?
Yeah.
Hold
Okay.
on. Hold
Let me
on.
give
Hold
you
on.
the name of the
Hold on.
song.
Hold on. I think I know that.
All right.
Damn.
All right.
I was
Okay.
just listening to that. As a matter of fact, how do it start off again? Do the beginning part.
Yeah, do
Well,
it
what's
again.
up?
Okay. Being black is a blessing and a curse. Living with the pain and the hurt. Take a stand as I work.
That's
Damn.
obviously CeeLo's part.
Man, I don't know what song. I know it's Goody Mob though.
You
Yeah, it's
spitting
Goody
it like
Mob.
Scarface though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
Like,
what throwing me off.
as you
Sound like
journey
my
into
mom
outer
playing
space.
Quicksilver. You know how he spit.
May the angels help him lead the way.
Now, so check this out. The song is called "Pray for the Sheep." It's off of one of their most recent albums.
I was about to say
Pray
that's
for the
got to be
sheep.
new.
Pray for the
That's got to
sheep.
be new, Goody Mob.
It's
That
it's
ain't fair.
it's an awesome one too.
Good
What's
one.
worse,
That's good.
selling dope or selling dreams? Let them roll
That's
your
what's up,
boat.
though.
They'll leave you upstream, lost in the matrix. Play for the sheep. Pray for
Yeah,
the
that's
sheep.
one with Big
That's
Boy
the
on it.
song.
Yeah, I know that song.
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah.
New Goody Mob.
Good
Yeah,
one. That's a good one.
yeah, man. Some of the new
That's
Goody
what's up.
Mob.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
came
yeah.
out about 3 years ago or something like that. I think the album did.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mm.
That's what's up. That's what's
Pray
up.
for
We're
the
gonna go
sheep.
ahead and
It's a
kick it
good
off,
one.
man, into these topics, man. So, just like a brief history on Black group economics. Do y'all feel that like black ec- black black economics, Black group economics was something that was more popping back in the day, or do you feel like it's something that's kind of more or less popping now?
Well, define what you mean by Black group economics first.
Black group economics, I mean like a group of more than two people coming together, either buying land, buying a business, going into an entity, forming some form of um, economic flow.
Okay.
I would argue that I don't think we've really seen it in its full potential, only because when we did have it, when all the times that we could point to, we didn't have a
Mhm.
choice. So therefore necessity created that situation. But once we had a choice, I have not really seen it on the scale that it could be. So I'm not gonna say I'm a pessimist, but I kind of look at things as black and white. When we didn't have a choice, we made it happen.
Hmm.
Okay.
But after being let out and doing business with everybody, we ain't really came back home.
Mm,
Good point.
that's a good point.
That's a real good point.
So
What do you
I
think,
Carlin,
Ivy?
you were
to
speaking
my
on that
brother.
yesterday about the necessity when things go kind of bad, we kind of don't have a choice but to do what we have to do. But as
Yeah.
of right now, when people are comfortable, that level of complacency has you in the zone where you don't even really care about building.
Yeah, Brother Henry just spoke to it. I mean, the circumstances often create the sense of urgency that people exhibit, right? So right now, personally, I feel like people are overconvenienced. And whether you want to use the analogy of a burning house, a lot of people are sitting in that house and they don't either they don't mind the smoke or they don't recognize it, right? So um, I think it's kind of like, the circumstances or the options, right? Or the perception of options give people the impression that they don't need to do it a particular way. Whereas in the past, like you said, it was a survival mechanism, right? There was no alternative. So it was pretty simple. There wasn't too much contemplating into what needed to be done because it was a matter of life and death. It was a matter of eating and not eating. Whereas now, people, especially considering that we don't have like an aggregated, like tangible community that you can see and touch for the most part. Like our neighborhoods don't look the same anymore. So a lot of things aren't as apparent as they were. and obviously it's still there, still present, but you have to read in between the lines. And some of us just don't have that form of literacy, if you will. So yeah, there it is. I feel like things would need to get worse in some instances before it gets better to kind of wake people up, right? Wake up call. And it's kind of like, fourth quarter, 2 minutes to go. All of a sudden you start making plays, because
Right.
the sense of urgency is hitting you. It's hitting your nervous system. Whereas right now people feel like they got time, and that normalcy bias, it kind of perpetuates like a sense of like procrastination or even paralysis in a lot of instances where people have so many options, they don't even know where to start.
Right.
Yeah,
Or they
definitely.
feel like they got so many options. You know what I mean?
Right,
Depends on
right.
who you ask.
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely more. I think the word was popular, more seen in the past as compared to now, and it definitely has to do with the fact that the circumstances that we were in. But I think it's so critical what Kylan just mentions that in a lot of ways those circumstances haven't changed. They look different, on the outside, and we've been taught to think that things have changed so drastically. But when you look at wealth, when you look at education, when you look at the prison
Right.
system, there's so many things where it is we are in survival mode. We are in a state of emergency, and I think the dominant culture has gotten much more savvy, has
Yeah.
gotten much
For
more
sure.
effective at how to distract us or how to manipulate the
Yeah. Mind
consciousness
control.
of our people, and or just of all people, not just our people. Everybody's falling for the okie doke, but that's why it's always a constant struggle to raise awareness and raise the conscious level so people understand the environment that we're still in and how much change is still necessary. And I think the main difference that's really important is and obviously we weren't around at that time to know what the true mindset was, but at least at that time it seemed like there were more people who had some type of means, who had some type of resources or platform, that were more connected to community, right? You had your Paul Robesons, you had your O.V. Gurley, who was one of the people who helped found Black Wall Street. You
Yeah.
had your A.G. Gaston, people who were funding the movements in that time. Whereas now, our celebrities and our wealth class, it seemed like they don't want anything to do with the people who are working at the bottom and who are part of the grassroots. And so I think that's a big disconnect compared to what we saw in the past. Is people who are either have a voice, who have influence, who have sway, and who have means to be more supportive and be more connected to the community. But now it's like I'm accepted in these billionaire groups and these multimillionaire environments and things like that, and there's just a huge disconnect. And I don't know how we reestablish that connection, or even if it's needed, because it seems like a losing battle, especially when they're so bought into capitalism and so bought into materialistic things that they associate
Yeah.
with now. Whereas it seems like it would be more strategic to build structure, to build power, and get organized, amongst ourselves, amongst people like us who have the compassion and have the integrity and have the will. But that resource side is still very much needed. So for me, it's like that's the missing link, and they know it, right? But if we could
Yeah.
figure out
For
how to
sure.
generate our own resources, fund our own movements, fund our own organizations and our own businesses, then
Yeah. It'd be over with.
it'd be over with, right? And
Mm.
it doesn't have to be a mass group economic thing of like what Garvey was doing. Everybody send in $10. Like I think that might be. I love the idea, but I don't know if that's realistic in this time that we're in right now. But if the few of us that are capable come together, capable and serious, we can move mountains, and we
Mm.
already are. We just got to move bigger ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Do you feel that like um black businesses or more black businesses can alter, stop, or hinder oppression?
Mm.
I
Anybody
think
want to answer? Yeah.
here's I like to take clues from life, things that we see every day that we don't necessarily put the perspective to give us the answers. So black business, I think, is a tool for that. Only because independence, I think, is probably the biggest gain from starting a business, to not being beholden to someone that cuts your check. You're beholden to your customers. You're beholden to continue to produce a good product or service. But in terms of someone looking over your shoulder, when you don't have that, you operate with a sense of freedom that you're not necessarily going to have when you're an employee. So for that, business is a tool. And the way I see that, we always see it all the time. It was one time I saw on the news, I think it was Quincy Jones' son that got pulled over or whatever. And the story was, the police pulled him over. They didn't know that was Quincy Jones' son. And really, what should that matter? If you broke the law, then you should be subject to the same thing everybody else is subject to. But what that's saying is that the resources play a role in how free you actually really are. So,
Mm,
I mean, if you broke the law, take him to jail. But Quincy Jones has a way to fight whatever BS you about to put on this kid's head. And
Right.
just from that alone, starting a business and operating a business can help get you closer to that operation.
mm.
Yeah,
Great
that,
point.
yeah. I see because it's such a big question. I see ending oppression is a war,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then, so that's why I was like, damn, Kevin.
Yeah.
But I
I'm
see,
with you.
you know, business as one strategy in that war. Similar to what Henry mentioned, it's like we have to be strategic in this effort of business development and economic development to get resources. Like that's really the goal of the business aspect is resources, right? But what do we do with those resources? Because if we there's a couple initiatives going around. I know Arlen Hamilton has an initiative. It's like I want to make a million millionaires or something like that, right? So
Hmm.
we're successful in our aim, and we make all these successful entrepreneurs and all these successful businesses, but then everybody just goes and acquires more, right? Or everybody just goes and and turns around and gives the money back to the white man, right? Then it's not going to be very effective or very sustainable or regenerative, to use Colin's word. And so that's one leg in the tactic of the strategy of what we're trying to do. But if we're able to amplify that and circulate those resources and hire people, get people away from the corporate plantation and get people off their jobs, and then people can start to heal, right? Because that's the aspect that has to happen. Also,
Absolutely.
we can't do it
Absolutely.
when we working 50, 60 hours on somebody else's job. And then another aspect of it is the organizations, right? We have organizations that are doing the work, that are healing and providing the solutions that we need as a people. We're speaking to one of them, right? But again, those resources are needed. So the way I see it, the business aspect is a tactic in the overall strategy to win the war of ending global oppression and securing liberation for Black people and all people, right? But it's just one aspect of
Mm.
Mm,
Okay, that's
Well,
a
and
good answer.
I add a little piece to that, and I think you guys you're spot on. You hit the nail on the head with it. But the piece that I would add there is that when you think about a Black Wall Street, for example, you think about what they provided to the community as well when it comes to the business avenue. So using that tool, using that vessel, they regenerated the community. In some instances, what was it, 31 times I believe it was that the dollar
Hmm.
circulated back into the community. So I think, and especially as what Brother Henry and Brother Ali and just a few of the ventures that I know that you guys are doing, you're doing exactly that. You've got a collective spot that is a community spot. It allows for the people to come and to have events and to host and to network and to to just have all types of wide range of things that they can do in the community in one space. and it as also for the benefit of the community. And I think that's one of the things that when we think about what we've analyzed from a historic standpoint of starting what it means to be black business or to be black owned or whatever. I think that's one of the things that we've really got to make a center focus is we've got to make sure that the community in which we are serving is also getting service from us as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I want to answer it briefly. I'm gonna just say no. That's one area of fighting, but it's not the whole fight. If that makes sense.
Nah, without a
Mhm.
doubt. Well,
Right.
and to that point, Brother Ali and Brother Henry, y'all mentioned something earlier about the nonprofit aspect of it as well. I was literally just in a meeting right before our mission downtown with the homeless, talking with a guy that is actually working on exactly that same thing. He's got resources with what he calls a super grant. He calls it super granting, where he funnels resources and gets grants and does things like that. But he was also talking about a brother that you guys probably know well who has the Culture Hub. I don't know if you've heard of the Culture Hub,
Yeah.
Brother Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was just talking about how to continue to build and make those types of spaces where we're really providing that service and we're really in the community, sustainable, and then getting the funds that are needed from a grant perspective to be able to make sure that's happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like oxygen. You know, we need it to function. And Thomas St. Carr said, "He who feeds you controls you." And so most of these nonprofits, especially the black nonprofits, are beholden to white dollars, right? And that's not a realistic or sustainable approach if we're
Yep.
trying to ensure success for our future generations. And so it's a dynamic that we have to change.
And that's always a consideration for me with nonprofit organizations. Obviously, I've got some experience in that arena and the box that you have to operate in. And I don't like I mean,
Strings attached.
it's great for certain efforts indeed, because there's certain programs and just resources that you can leverage, and that's awesome. But um, I do believe in, like, if you're on the football field, you got to play football, right? So in terms of being on this soil, as we know, it's a capitalistic society, and not that it's a perfect system, but we got to
Okay.
play ball. Not only do we got to play ball, we got to win, right? And when your cup runneth over, then you can pour into others.
Pour it out.
So I
Right.
think in a lot of instances, because of our morality, we kind of lead with that at the forefront with our hearts, and we kind of put the cart before the horse in some instances because we want to help. But again, we gotta stack up some wins so that we can access those resources using our businesses and our collaborative efforts as the stepping stone to acquire those resources so that we can, like you said, once we pull those profits in, what we do with it really defines, our intent. And I think
Yeah.
that's the key piece. The means to justify the end, right? So, in terms of like combating oppression, bro, that's a heavy question. And I don't want to sound like the pessimist, but I do believe that people are inherently tribal. So, I do think certain the ills that we kind of know of in our society and throughout the world, I do feel like a lot of that is, it always has been, and to some extent it's always going to be. So I don't know how you're able to, I don't know of any demographic that he has uniformity in their class status, access to resources. So I think that's somewhat of a fantasy that we can sometimes over romanticize instead of simply just kind of catching up with our own kind, like-minded individuals and taking care of us. The key piece to that is defining us, defining the community that we reference, and keeping that in mind because trying to, and there's various instances throughout history where we've casted this wide net trying to,
Yeah.
with good intention, but when you do that, you don't know who, what you're pulling in. And
Yeah.
obviously,
Exactly.
in a lot of instances, those are seeds for diseases that ultimately bring down the ship. So I think we got to keep that in consideration.
Yeah, there ain't no right
I
answer for the
agree.
question. That's why I asked it. There's no, it's it's kind of a trick question, kind of. I just wanted to see what everybody kind of thought about it, because I feel like you can't. You know,
Nah.
that's a boxer going against an MMA fighter. The MMA fighter has, way more different things. That's just one aspect of the fight. You know what I mean? The
It's
dollar.
also shadow boxing,
Yeah.
because you can't really put the finger on who the opponent is. You just know what you hit.
Right.
And in most cases, it's coming from right next to you, from somebody that you thought was on your team. To Kyler's point,
Come on.
and in this nonprofit world, man, this is woo. I mean, you would be amazed, and I know y'all probably know the reason why we keep telling y'all to get y'all's nonprofit in some form of fashion, because we need somebody in these rooms with us. Right now, from what I see, the resources is there for us to make a difference, but it lands in the hands of our immediate oppressor, which is the people that want things to stay the way they are, to look like us. So I mean that's the first level of oppression that we got to attack, that most of us are afraid to admit and afraid to swing on somebody that look like us. When in reality, that's who the Haitians went to first. So we got to not be afraid to call each other out. If I see you, I trust my spirit more. I'm gonna trust than anybody else's words. That's who we are as a people. Our spirit help us navigate this world in a way that people can't explain. But we got to be able to trust our spirit when we see one of us doing wrong, that's operating with the same tactics that they learn from the oppressor that we all know. And once we build that muscle to call each other out, whether for good or bad, because we got to correct each other in a Cat Williams type way,
And
stuff
love,
like that's necessary at times. I think we'll get a lot further, because to Colin's point, I think our biggest issue is we haven't defined who we are. And like I said, we let everybody come to the table, and we don't know that they taking that stuff from the table and taking it back to where they came from.
Come on.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most understated, most underestimated aspect of our plight right now, is people who look like us and who are among us and know the right things to say, who are stunting our growth. Right? They're standing in the way. They're taking opportunities, and we've seen it in our face. And it's like, what do you do about it? Because on one hand, if you call them out in the way you normally call somebody out, everybody gonna say you messy, right? Or you putting out dirty laundry, or whatever, or you crazy, or whatever, all kind of names.
You're
right?
tripping.
But you tripping, but you can't. The flip side of it is you can't do nothing. You can't not say something, because for that exact reason, right? They're taking advantage of the people, they're exploiting the people, and they are taking opportunities away from people who are really in it for the work, really in it for the upliftment of our people. And so, but it's prevalent, from the most prominent organizations out there. I won't say names. Well,
we know a couple out there.
Keep it professional.
Right.
Y'all edit it out. Edit it out. I ain't supposed to say it.
We know.
Right. But that's the bigger thing, is we know it,
and we gotta call it out.
We know it.
Gotta be willing to stand.
It's like the analogy is like the relatives that touches on children. Like, everybody know, don't send your kids to Uncle so-and-so house, right? So we know these things are happening, but we continue to let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's a shame on us, but we have to figure out how to hold these groups accountable, or how to get rid of them. One of the two.
Indeed.
Like you were saying, Brother Henry, I apologize for cutting you off, Crondo. I just want to get a few words out there as well. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm gonna be a little less talkative tonight. But Brother Henry, as you was mentioning that, calling the brothers, not necessarily the brothers, but calling out the organization, or just being able to just speak about things that aren't that are not right. I think, and we should do that, but I think a lot of the time what stops us is not only is it not many in those spaces, like you mentioned, you need some other bodies in those spaces to kind of back you up. But it's like for at least for I'm just going off my own personal experience. Sometimes it's hard to call out those that look like you in a room full of others that don't look like you.
That's the
so
hard
to
part.
speak. You know what I mean? So sometimes we let that get in the way. And I know we started off saying like we're leading with, you know, with emotions in a sense in our morale, but it's also somewhat like we're still in protective mode over all of this. So we're reluctant to call each other out in certain spaces, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that is something to consider. And that actually came up in a meeting we had with somebody a couple of weeks ago. And I will throw this name out there. I don't care because everybody has the same reaction when you say the Black Chamber of Commerce here in Arizona. When you say that, everybody has the same reaction. So our like it's a joke, you know. And at this point, I'm offended that so many people take it as a joke, and yet they still operate the way they operate while we suffering out here. So I'm offended to the point I'm ready to chop heads. But we just happened to be in a meeting with white folk, and it came up, and I reacted the same way I will react talking to y'all. And what's funny is he reacted the same way. So what that tells me is they're comfortable with allowing us to be siphoned off of by this organization who's going to ensure that those resources don't make it to our community. And I was questioning myself after the fact, like that goes against my code about like what you said, Bilal, speaking that way about somebody that looks like me in front of them. I'm like, am I wrong? And I said, nah, because what I did was I took that step of defining who we are. And I've determined that you are not part of the we, therefore you are the ops.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a very good point because we had this conversation about defining who we are. That if we see somebody that identifies, you know, to what we identify, is that our brother? We had that conversation, so that's a question. I'll kind of toss that out there for the group. You know, is everybody that's your skin folk? Is that your kin folk?
Hell
No, definitely
Hell
not.
no.
We were already saying that.
Did it start off that way though?
Of course not.
You had to grow into these feelings, right?
Man, look, the circle gets smaller with every interaction.
Yeah.
The circle
Yep.
gets smaller.
You grew up, everybody is the ops.
This last ordeal we just went through, I'm like, if
Was
I don't
fun.
know you and do business with you, then it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
And then just think about that objectively. Like if all somebody has to do is show up looking a certain way, that's a very that's probably the lowest qualification that you are requiring.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's so easy for someone to masquerade into a situation if they say, okay, all I got to do is show up like this. So obviously, and I think we know the best way to identify who's through their actions, right? And they're demonstrating those principles, right? So when you have the privilege of journeying with individuals or collaborators, and you can actually see the proof in the pudding by what they're doing and what they, you know, that's what it is. So that does take time in some instances. So discernment is something that I feel like I've grown in as far as like a skill set, right? Where I know we all got like those spidey senses, right? You hear certain words and you know just certain little taglines, and it's like, oh, that might be a red flag. So just being present, right, and showing up, doing the work, you know what I'm saying, to like show your identification, that's key. So in terms of like what we talking about, obviously this platform is centered on ownership. So to bring it full circle, like how powerful is the Black dollar, and how can we build our own communities again?
I would say in the grand scheme of things, the Black dollar ain't that powerful because I mean, Cosby showed you could have $1 billion in the bank, and if they won't sell you something, that shows you that your money ain't as strong as you thought it was. Because at the end of the day, black dollars are only powerful to black people. If anybody outside our community, if the Asians don't want you to open a hair care store, you can't open a hair care store. So I think they're not as powerful as we think we are, but it's the mindset of the person with those dollars in the hand is what's most powerful. Because you can make a difference with $100,000 that more than you could with $1 million and trying to go do something outside your community. You can use $100,000 to start a program to help boys change their mindset. You can start an OBFC. You can start a growth spot with $100,000 and build within, and not try to take that to the dominant community to try to show what your dollar is worth there, because you'll quickly find out the exchange rate ain't the same.
Yeah, I would just say our black dollar, while it's not as powerful as it could be, it has limitless potential, right? We
agree with that.
are in a space where organized black dollars can do anything, right? I don't know how many of us they say there are here, but I see a lot of black people walking around in Phoenix, and we can get 50,000 of us together and put $1 in a week and start a new business every week. Right.
Wow.
We spent some time with the Somalian community, and they have probably as many businesses here as we do, if not more, being a fraction the size of our community. Now, we understand, getting to the tribe and getting to knowing who they are, there's a lot of advantages there. But what they did was they got the families together, and each year everybody would put money in the pot. They would start one business, right? Because they don't believe in going to the banks for loans. They don't, usury. They don't believe in
usury, right?
Right. And so that's how they started. It was one business every year. They would start a business. They would start a barbershop. They would start a restaurant. They would start a tax office, so on and so forth. And now the community is flourishing and has all these businesses. And when the community needs support, when somebody gets in trouble, when somebody needs help, they go to the businesses. Right. They go to the businesses, and the businesses, they have this connection, right? Because you helped us to get here, and we're indebted to you. Right. And so we have the potential to do all those things and obviously so much more, because we have the resource, we have the connections, and so on and so forth. But I think this mindset thing, this understanding, who we are, is the prerequisite. That's the part that we have to tackle now, is understanding who is our community and what is, to Kyle's question, our goal. Are we looking to establish an independent community? Are we looking to establish a series of successful black businesses? Because I'm a firm believer that we just have to decide, right? We just have to decide what it is. You brothers didn't wait, right? You decided we're going to buy some land. We're going to build on it. We're going to bring programs. We're going to bring the community. We're going to be free, right?
Right.
And you did it. You didn't ask permission, right? You didn't send out and have a search committee, right? None of that stuff, right? And so
the mind was right, though.
Exactly. And you had the dollars and the organized mindset to do it, right? And I think we have that. We have that potential. We have that ability with a number of things, as it relates to how we use our black dollar. But I think we just have to think of it in different terms, because the white people, the dominant culture, they're going to be more effective at getting a dollar from the masses of us every time, because they have the weight, the muscle, right? But what we have to do, I think, among us, is to start to build where we are with what we have, just like you brothers have done, like what all of us has done. And what I would love more than anything is that, since we know the kind of stock that we're made out of, we know the kind of intention and passion that we have for our community, is for us to get together more. Because I'm at the point, I don't trust hardly anybody. It's gonna take a long time.
Same here, bro.
Faces, I'm seeing Facebook groups pop up that's acting like businesses. I'm seeing People move here. There's talking a good game, talking about they done been recognized by the president of the United States.
Come on,
like honestly, we just see some crazy
at an
stuff.
all-time high.
Yeah, it's at an all-time high. We just see some crazy stuff, and it's par for the course, right? Because we know that we're moving, we know that we're making progress, so we're gonna see even more crazy things, right? But for those of us who are known entities, who have relationships, who have love for one another, and you know what I'm saying, and support each other, I think that's where we have to start. Is what can we build on, amongst ourselves, because the community is watching, the community is excited. They love everything that's happening. And whether we accept the mantle or not, we're leaders right now. And maybe not in the concept of leader, like I'm gonna stand up and I'm your leader, right? But we're leading the pack. We out front, we running fast. We saying this is what we can do right now. This is the opportunity, the potential that we have. And people are grabbing hold of it, and they're getting excited and inspired by it. And so we have a responsibility to keep running and keep moving forward, and to come together and amplify everything that we're doing.
Yeah,
man, Ali, brother Ali, and brother Henry, man, I'm inspired by y'all. I know we all like come from the same place, but just to see y'all brothers do what y'all do on a daily basis and do it for the community, like we are blessed to have y'all in this community. So I want to say thank you and keep going for sure. I know there's gonna be more things that we all do together. But what y'all have done so far has been amazing. It's very inspirational.
Well, and I mean, just to have a space where, we can learn about ourselves. That's something that we didn't receive that when I was growing up, man. I didn't receive any of that information. Like, I started having to track it down when I got older. Like, I just recently learned about the fact that my family was originally on the shores of North Carolina. Like, I just learned about that literally a couple of months ago. You know what I mean? But we didn't have that. But you guys built a space that's intentional about being able to learn about the history and the things that took place. Because when we take those lessons that are there in the history and we bring those forward, it allows us to be able to have an identity, and now allows for us to be able to identify one with another. That way we can bridge the gaps that we're seeing right now in society. So it's important, man, what y'all are doing. That work is important.
Yeah. To circulate back to the Black Dollar, shout out to Brother True. He wanted to be here bad, but he had some prior obligations. He wanted me to ask a couple of questions.
Tell him he had to be here. He missed it.
Yeah.
No questions from Brother True. You
say. He say how does a consumer buying? Hey, how does a consumer buying from a black business benefit them more than purchasing from a white business with their spending, as both just seems to make the other one, the other business, richer? How is that in line? I guess he's basing that question off a book, Jared Ball's the myth and propaganda of black buying power.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll give you an easy example. This all started with black people buying RBGTs. RBGTs gave me the freedom to see what's next. And here we are.
That's a fact.
Okay.
That's facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting cat. I've listened to some of his stuff. The Dr. Jared Ball. Some of his stuff, he has a interesting, I think, and sound view on, but some of the stuff is a little off. I think it's a little off base or a little short sighted. Because on the face, right? I'm buying from a person with black skin. I'm buying from a person with white skin, right? On the face, there is no difference, right? But to Henry's point, if I'm buying from a black business who is passionate about the black community, who wants to see the growth and development of a community, of an entire people, then it's like buying from a company that I own stock in, right? I'm benefiting from that purchase, right? That's the whole idea of circulating the dollar, the whole idea of this whole reinvestment. It's the same reason why we're talking about reparations, why we're talking about everything that has happened prior to now and trying to repair it, right? It's just it's a tactical and very intentional thing to build up the foundation and the fortitude of that business, that institution, so that it can do more. It can create greater impact. It can create Black jobs. We know that, and I'm not gonna get my soapbox, but we know that the majority of Black people, or excuse me, that Black-owned businesses hire primarily Black people, right? So if I want to help create jobs, I want to invest in a Black-owned business, right? And again, if that business is intentional about supporting the Black community, then that's where I want my dollars to go. So
yeah, that's
it's a
dope.
no-brainer.
Dope
It's the
answer.
same reason why racist white people don't buy from Black-owned businesses. Flip the side of the coin.
Right.
Indeed. Indeed. So I definitely want to give reverence to brother El-Haj Malik Shabazz,
Yeah,
better known as Malcolm X. I
yeah,
believe today, February 21st, is
it
the
is.
date that he transitioned in 1965.
Yeah,
And he has a quote that was brought to my attention by Brother True as well. He says, "Revolution is based on land. Land is the basis of all independence. Land is the basis of freedom, justice, and equality."
come on.
So, with that being said, and considering the theme of our platform, how significant is it for individuals to consider reclaiming some of these neighborhoods and some of the developed urban metropolises versus perhaps exploring the opportunity to kind of build from the ground up in some of these untapped markets, whether that be rural areas or even on a global front in other countries? And obviously, you could do both, right? There's no right or wrong answer here. It's not necessarily to gauge which one is better, but what's your thoughts on that as far as the prevalence of all this information that we have now? So I feel like a lot of this stuff was kind of like out of sight, out of mind for the most part for many, many years. But now these conversations are being circulated on more of a regular basis, to the point where we are a living example of individuals who have done something that is, this is not akin to something that is normal in my lineage. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but just considering those two trains of thoughts, like what do you guys think about that?
My thought is, while one is very attractive, right, and sexy, and I'm gonna buy, in Miami and Atlanta and downtown Phoenix, we're gonna build a skyscraper and all these types of things, right? That all those things sound great in theory, but because of everything that we've already mentioned, right? I don't know how within reach that is, as far as us, of us successfully doing it and doing it in a sustainable way. I think the more strategic play is to look at whether it's rural, whether it's small towns, like where y'all are at right now. We were in DC last year for the jazz festival, and there's a little tiny town in Maryland, nice little town. And I was looking at some of the properties. The properties was kind of low. Pretty much all white folks that live there. Every single business I went to is Indians running.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Every single business I went to, Baskin Robbins, UPS, gas stations, it was Indians owning them businesses. And I'm like, well, we may not be able to buy a skyscraper in downtown Phoenix right now, not yet, right? But what's to stop us from starting businesses and running enterprise in smaller towns, in rural areas? And then too, I think this rat race trying to keep up with things in these major metropolitan areas is, at least, and maybe just for me, it's traumatic, right? It
Yeah,
takes a toll. And I think there is a something to be said about, doing things in rural areas, doing things in smaller towns where, we can build power and not have to deal with some of the games that we have to deal with. Because we got to play the game here, like you said, but playing the game takes a toll. So I've been thinking a lot about it, especially like I said, internationally. There's some incredible things that are happening all over the world, and a lot of times it's just a little bit of money that's needed to really make some bigger things happen.
yeah,
And it wouldn't take millions of dollars. to make it happen, right? So I think those are, if we're being strategic, those are opportunities where we can build power, build business, create some opportunities with, even if it's just a handful of us, right? We don't need millions of people to come together to make those things happen. I mean, y'all are a prime example. They're a prime example.
And
so that's
you
I know we've
highlighted.
talked about this too.
Go ahead. You got it.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you highlighted something that I wanted to point out also, like in these smaller counties and smaller municipalities, for the most part, there's usually a lot less resistance, right? Because the level of bureaucracy isn't comparable to what you experience in
You ain't gotta
the
jump through all
fifth
those
major
hoops.
city in the United States, right? Where you
Right.
got all this personnel in these departments. You got to talk to this person to maybe talk to that person to direct you to
Right.
that
This
department, that
form,
type of
yeah.
thing, right? So, in my experience, what my perception of some of these untapped markets is, for the most part, they want to do anything to kind of perpetuate economic activity in their counties, right? At the end of the day, everybody like green, right? So, if I say that to encourage people to tap into their creativity and don't shut that off just because it may not be the 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 big trend right now. You know what I mean? I
Right.
think we got to explore that
Especially right
and
now.
step outside the box.
Yeah, I would say now more than ever because if you analyze where we are in time, just from an economic standpoint, and you look at what's happening with inflation and the value of the dollar and globally, I think now is the time to really develop those talents because it is the talents that sustain our communities. And at the end of the day, if we just continue to go along with the mundane of the city life, which is, everything is pretty much given for you. You go to the market, you buy things, you know what I mean? You don't got to worry about growing nothing, none of that, right? Everything is working on a perpetual cycle. If we don't develop those talents right now, what happens if all of that comes crashing down?
Which we saw a
Yeah,
glimpse of, right, in
definitely.
2020.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, again, I'm always sound like the pessimist, but international, I haven't really wrapped my head around that yet. Only for the sake of I know what my ancestors fought for, and what I don't want to do is
Yep.
give up that fight.
Yep.
And I know there's probably some refuge and a lot of opportunities, but one thing I hate is identity. But I'm wrapped up in this identity and who my people are, what they went through here, and I can't jump ship. So
I'm with you.
my biggest strength is my biggest weakness right now.
Mm,
But I'm gonna down that sword that my grandfather swung with. I mean, that's just how I see
mm.
it right now.
Mm.
And I do what I
Yeah.
do because all he could do was write letters to the newspaper. He ain't never get no response, but that was about all the power he had. So the more that we continue to gain his power, I'm gonna continue to
Yeah.
swing that sword. And in terms of building a community that's just us, again, it'll sound like a pessimist, but it's going back to what we talked about earlier, defining who we are. But what we
Yeah.
know that damn near every movement that we've had have been infiltrated by people that look like
Yep.
us and,
Yep.
and brought it crashing down. Now,
Mhm.
that's not to say not to try, but history hasn't really shown me anything different. I think we can have like you guys mentioned, a combination of everything, but as long as we have equity in everything that we're doing to where we can jump from this ship to that ship, that ship to that ship, so that we're not left out in the cold. Because I mean, look at Flint, Michigan. That's predominantly black people, and some would say that was done on purpose. And what could they really do? And by the time they found out, they screwed up for generations right now.
Come
And
on.
knowing that the enemy is that much smart, not I'm not gonna say smarter, they that much more evil to where that they would perpetuate something like that
Yeah.
has me afraid to be a sitting duck. So I think again one of our biggest strengths, which is one of our biggest weaknesses, is that we're everywhere. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna take me out, there's a bunch of collateral damage that you're gonna have to take on the same block with your folk, as opposed to recreating Tulsa. So I'm not gonna knock any of it. I'm just gonna say at this point, I don't know. I don't know, but that's just how I
Yeah.
see everything. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
rule anything out, but at this point, I just know, you know, I got bones in this soil, and I'm gonna fight for the same
Absolutely.
things that they was fighting for.
Man, that's
We
a
were
great
born on the
Respect that.
soil.
that's a
Yeah, I
great
respect that. That's a
We were
great point.
born on it. That means it's ours.
Yeah.
Bloodshed and tears. Christmas addicts, first one, right?
literally.
Come on.
Yep. I mean, and at
Literally.
the end of the
First
day,
bullet, every war, you know what I'm
that's it.
saying? Built the economic engine, literally, like literally blood,
Right.
sweat, and tears.
And if you
Yeah.
look at everything, like you strip away our survival tactics, the identity that we built on top of survival, at the end of the day, all our people ever really wanted was to be American. I mean, when we couldn't be American, we started adopting other identities. But
Yeah.
all our people ever really wanted to do was to be accepted as an American. And I think the more we add on to it, well, let me try this, let me try that, and ain't none of that really us. So I don't know
Man,
what the answer is, but when you look at the core of everything, when they took them chains off, they just wanted the same rights and opportunities that the white folk had. When they was marching in Selma, they just wanted the same
Same thing.
rights. So I don't want to go too far away from what the goal is, but I know, you know, we're just trying to find something that works. But I know that that's the core of what we fight for.
absolutely.
Yeah, and just
Absolutely.
to speak on the business aspect, as it relates to this conversation, I'm in full agreement. I envision or what I see as an opportunity for us is to do business globally, right?
Yeah.
And I think part of
Yeah, I
that
agree.
is getting back to who we are. Like that's the I think the recurring theme is we determine who we are, right?
Right.
Determine who we are, have a plan, make a decision, and go forward and do it. Because I was in and it's unfortunate because we don't have like like you look at these nations, right? They have all these resources and this code, right? So China is like running the world right now. You go to Jamaica and it's Chinese people running businesses with speaking
Sure.
patois, speaking,
Sure.
you know what I'm saying?
Africa.
I was in Panama, Chinese people that are speaking Spanish, right? And
Yep.
so I mean I take my hat off, right? But it's also at the same time, it's unfortunate because our community has been so dismantled and our psyche has been broken down so much that it's hard for us to gain that footing so that we can start to build a power like that. But I think, you know, as the more that we come together, the more that we build amongst ourselves, I think we have the ability to do any of those things and all of those things, right? We can
Absolutely. We were the
send
original.
exactly. We were the originals, and it's time for us to take it back. And so we had the ability to, you know, to send people around and be doing business globally and have a global conglomerate and be investing in, you know, new frontiers and, you know, everything under the sun. I just think we have that opportunity right now. But again, it starts first with identifying who we are and who it is that we're trying to benefit in this immediate moment. Because you're right, we're not gonna be able to save everybody, not day one.
Nope.
You know, I'm an idealist, so I think, you know, at some point we can free the whole world.
We're
Right?
gonna spin the block
Right
and
now.
see if we
Yeah,
can
right.
Start
We
do
can
small.
that.
the rest of them at some point, right? But I've had to, you know, I've had to come to that realization. But you know, as they say, you know, you have to take care of home first, right? And so it's
Yeah.
important that
Agreed.
we determine who home is, take care of home, build ourselves up strong, and then just like Haiti, right? They went around and they were liberators, right? But we have to build ourselves up strong first, and then we could do everything that we're talking about. We can have strong businesses in the cities, getting everybody's dollars. We can have businesses in the rural and in the small towns. We could be doing business globally, right? We could be doing all those things.
All of the above.
All of the above, right? Because we know that, you know, people flock to and rock with what we do, right? And that's why we get exploited and manipulated so much because
We
they
are
know
the
our
culture.
power.
We are the
Right?
the
They
customer
know our
base.
power.
Yeah.
And so once we understand it and we control it, you know, there's no stopping us. So I think that's why we see so much of what we see, and that's why it's easy to put things in perspective because it's difficult because we're close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We're close.
Yeah, we
Good point.
definitely got to play ball, and not only that, we got to win. You know what I mean? No excuses. You
On
know, we
offense.
got
On offense.
offense,
Yeah.
definitely offense, man. So with that being said, Again, before we close out, Brother Ali, Henry, for those that may not be familiar with you, and I don't know how they wouldn't be at this point, how can they find you? What maybe say a little bit about what businesses that you all facilitate in the community and any events that you want to plug before we close out today.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. So our core Archwood Exchange, that's the basis of who we are. The nonprofit is Acres, which is Archwood Community Resource Empowerment Strategy. And we just try to continue to create more opportunities, get out here and fight these devils for the resources that they stealing, they siphoning from us, to continue to, bear the flag, but also at the same time, clear the path for other brothers with flags like yourself to be able to come through so that we can have a well-rounded approach of what this, I'm not going to say revolution, but this new way of operating looks like. We need a changing of the guards. And right now,
It's on the verge.
yeah, it's a fight, but I think we close. I think we really close.
Sure.
But that's archwoodexchange.com. Our hat company, which is strawandwool.com. We're actually
Cooler
about to
heads
open
prevail.
Cooler Heads Prevail.
That's right.
We opened our second location in April in Los Angeles. So that
Oh
y'all
man,
hear it.
That's
So
amazing.
that's coming
Congratulations.
next.
That's dope.
Atlanta
Congratulations.
Expanding. So now it's
Yeah,
global.
I just want to say
Now it is
always
global.
thank you. I done sent plenty of people there because when I'm out, man, they be thinking I'm Idris or something, and I be looking so fresh and shit. You know what I'm saying? They be like, "Yo, man, where you get your hat at?" I tell them, man, my brother's got the spot, man, on Roosevelt Road, man, and I
You
just want to
sending
say
us
thank you for
business.
keeping the
You
brother
sending us
fresh.
business. I'm gonna hold my tongue on that one.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. My favorite quote is from Marcus Garvey: "What man has done, man can do." So, a lot of us, we don't really see men doing it. So what we're doing, this collective right here, and a few others outside of this circle right here are doing it. So that like Tupac said, I might not, what do you say? I might not start the revolution, but I'll spark the mind of somebody that will.
Change, yeah.
The change. I see that's what we are right now. Every step that we take in showing them something that they don't see in their daily lives, maybe stuff that we haven't even seen in our lives, setting that example is what we're all about. So opening this second location is really just to show what you could do starting at the marketplace and how
Right.
far you could take this if just take chances, know why you're doing it, never forget why you're doing it, and make sure that when you do it, you don't lose touch with base, to stay connected to the energy source so that energy flows both ways. So also grassroots bookstore. I'll let you take from here for your side.
Yeah, just Grassroots Bookstore, grassrootsbookstore.com. I was transitioning from my daughter's room, so I missed what we were just saying.
No, just showing what y'all got going on, where people can find some of y'all businesses and what y'all do at.
Okay, yeah. Grassroots Bookstore. We just launched Buy Black Arizona a few months ago, which is a directory event database, full media site. So definitely hit that up. And that's it.
Yeah, we need to get with y'all, man. We threw an event on the same day, and I was like, man, how we cross lines on that, man? Like,
Oh man, look, we had two on
definitely
the same day, so don't even.
Yeah.
So wait, what about the store downtown as well? The Acres store.
Oh yeah, Acres. Yeah.
Yeah, the Acres Community Creators Marketplace. So since 2016, we worked with over 400 businesses. A lot of them have products that need to go on the shelves. So we provide those shelves in a high traffic area down on Roosevelt Road. So that's the Acres Community Creators Marketplace down on Roosevelt and 5th Street. And Stardust and Sage is there as well, right on Roosevelt, and then Brownstone Spa. Another business under the umbrella of Archwood. So, we just take advantage, man. We in a golden time right now. This city growing the way it's growing. We just got to hold the line. Those that came before us fought for us. A lot of them here just kind of held their line and said, y'all figure it out. So we figuring it out, and we're going to push this line. We're going to hold the line, because Phoenix probably going to be the 4th biggest city when it's all said and done. But we just got to make sure that we keep our presence. We keep fighting this fight. It ain't easy, I know, but nothing's been easy up to this point. But it has been rewarding.
Nothing good comes easy.
Absolutely.
Man,
Indeed. Definitely
it's
want to
been
thank y'all.
a hell of an episode. We appreciate y'all time, man, and hopping on, and big salute to y'all. Like Bilal said earlier, man, y'all always been an inspiration, and we always want we all the way tapped in. But y'all already know that.
That's right.
Absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind too, y'all and us too. Ain't too many legacy organizations that rock with us. That kind of got to us for a minute, but then we realized, wow, like I wouldn't rock with me either if I was you, and you trying to keep status quo, keep Black people in the place that they in. So we get it now. But the one thing that works to us in our favor is we're not beholden to anybody at this point except our people. So all of these organizations that we talked about, they're afraid to be messy. They're afraid to mess up the church's money and all that. We ain't got the church's money. The churches ain't put us where we are. The people did. So our allegiance will always be the people. That guarantees that we will never be one of these people that see an injustice and never say something about it, because they didn't make us. So therefore, you can't take nothing from somebody that got it out the mud.
Facts.
Indeed. Well, if we ain't got any other last words, Brother Nakia, if you don't mind, can you close us out, please?
Absolutely, man. So, man, this has been another dope and great episode here on Plotting Progress. Please go back and check out the rest of them. And as we always like to say, we are unified in growth, in action to build, protect, and expand fruitful legacy. Come on.
Hey.
Peace.
Appreciate y'all.
I appreciate you.
Peace and blessings.